Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, you're already shaking your head. I'll give you the floor on the subject matter.
Yeah, it's just disappointing, Rich. I mean, I think you look at it over the years. I think it's one of the things that, I was really excited. You look at our Protector of the Year award this year to have something where you have former players, even some current guys that are involved and trying to help make that selection to where it's really coming from a place of people that have been there, done that, and been a part of this game for a really long time. I mean, I think everybody that played it, coached it, has been around the NFL, sees Bill Belichick as the standard. And his greatness and who he is as a football coach and what he was able to accomplish over his time in New England. I even think of the impact he had on guys like Nick Saban and others, and now even Mike Vrabel, who's sitting there coaching the Super Bowl right now. Man, it's just you all look up and you're all so inspired by him to see him not be somebody who I think we all sit there and talk about, man, this guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer and those kind of things. As a coach, you think of this guy as he is on the first ballot of all Hall of Famers. And to not be somebody who's going to go in the first time, I think a lot of guys are just discouraged. And I think it's a bad look for people that vote in this because it just shows you that a lot of this stuff comes down to bias because there is no argument. You can like him, you can hate him, you can hate how some of them are won or have an argument about that kind of stuff. But to argue whether he is a first ballot Hall of Famer, there is no question. He is one of the greatest coaches that's ever coached the sport.
Yeah, I've been chopping this up for 2.5 hours now, Whit, and what you just said kind of is a new angle to talking about it, which is the debate should have been amongst us as observers and fans, not just handled by the committee that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer no matter what you think, right? And then leave it up to us as to where he ranks based on the warts, right?
Yep.
Like I would have preferred it that way, quite frankly.
Yeah, those are conversations for coffee shops and talk shows and everything else. Like, hey, that's great. But the conversation of whether he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, there is none. He is, without question, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. The very first chance you could put him in there, you'd put him at the top of it with some of the greatest coaches ever in the history of this game.
And, when you said a lot of guys are discouraged or disappointed, are you talking about your colleagues in the media, or you're talking about former players that you talk with? Like, can you give me a general sense of your man on the street, if you will, from your perch?
Yeah, I think when you look at players' reactions, you see it, former coaches' reactions. The reaction is not one of like, man, we want to go critique. Obviously there's a lot made about the voting systems of a lot of the different things, Pro Bowls, you name it. But it's not that. It's that, man, there's not really any debate on the impact that Bill Belichick on the game of football and the level of excellence. So it's those kind of things that now we create all kinds of questions and you're making the voting process look really bad when a guy who has done something that very few have ever been having the opportunity to even go to a game, he's been a part of that many and won it. It's just, you start to create all this, really turmoil around the subject. And now everything's going to get dissected and looked at. And I look at it like, Rich, a lot of these things come out with college football and where we are today with NIL and all those things. Do you know why we're here, Rich? Because years ago, when we had a system ran by the NCAA, we went into things that was none of their business for them to govern and overlook and critique. And then, you know what? People had to sue them and go after them and take away all their power. And now we live in this world where we live in now with college football. So if we want to have systems and things like these things that aren't debatable, like they've got to go a certain way. And you can't put your emotion and feelings into whether you like Bill Belichick or not as a voter. Without question, he's the most accomplished and deserves to be at the very top of the Hall of Fame and what he's accomplished as a head coach. So to not get in the first time you have a chance to vote him, you make people question. You make people come after you. You make people say, all right, I want to know exactly who votes, how they vote, and what's their names. And so when you're 5 years down the road and you're like, man, why is it like this now? Well, these are the kind of moments that lead from that. Right? That's the reality. I'll never forget. I always stick this out. I played with A.J. Green, one of the greatest athletes, coolest dudes, greatest human beings I ever played with. Like to think he missed college football games. We talk about the NCAA. He missed college football games because somebody paid him a couple $100 for one of his jerseys 20 years ago. Look at where we are now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to think that's how the NCAA got to where they're at. And now when we look at this voting system and you're a voter and you want to know why people are about to come after you and want to get into this and figure out what's going on, it's because You do things like this that are silly and they make no sense. It's ridiculous that we even all have to talk about this for the next couple of days because it just shouldn't be something that exists.
Andrew Whitworth here on the Rich Eisen Show, the Fitz and Whit pod, all part of the Prime Video world that Whit is part of on Thursday nights throughout the regular season. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.